On behalf of Ogden City and Union Station, we welcome you to historic Union Station here on the west end of historic 25th Street in the heart of historic downtown Ogden. And if you haven't noticed, the key words for the day are history, historic, and historical. My name is Shane Osgathorpe. I'll be your master of ceremonies for the evening as we get our program started. First off, we'd like to welcome all of you historians, whether you are an academic or a professional historian, an amateur historian, or just a history buff. Thank you for coming out and joining us for this significant day right here in Ogden. We would like to welcome our VIPs and dignitaries that are seated there being blinded by the sun right now. It's going to go down in just a few minutes. We tried to wait as long as we could. Sorry about that. There are members of our state legislature, our city council, our county commission. We thank you all for being here. We'd like to welcome the media who is present here today and all of our viewers that are watching the live stream of today's events. There will be a couple different portions of tonight's events. First will take place out here. Throughout this centennial year, we're honoring and celebrating the impact of this amazing building behind me and its impact on our community over the last 100 years. In its crudest definition, a building is a bunch of brick and mortar, right? That's concrete. That's what it is. But we can go deeper and we can appreciate the utility of the space and what it's contributed to our community over the last century. We can go even deeper and appreciate the aesthetics of its architecture and whatnot. But everything that I've just mentioned are either things like brick and mortar or concepts like utility or economic impact. But this evening we have a unique experience to get a look at the people who inhabited this amazing community exactly 100 years ago today. The people who demanded that this building be constructed in the wake of a huge community tragedy. It doesn't mean there's just lists of names, though there will be lists of names in the time capsule when we retrieve it. But more important, we'll see lists of, important political leaders at the time, key business leaders. We'll have lists of stonemasons and rail workers who were working in this building. But more importantly and more revealing than just names, we'll get a glimpse of what life was like 100 years ago today, and we'll come away with a greater understanding of what the city of Ogden valued a century ago today. We hope this evening begins a time of personal reflection and consideration for members of our community, not only about where this amazing place has been, but where we are going with it. So, to give us a little bit of the history of Union Station's Cornerstone, please welcome to the lectern the museum curator for Union Station, Hope Eggett.
Well, how I'm supposed to follow that, I'm not really sure. But good evening, everyone. Today, as you very well know, we are gathering to celebrate the cornerstone of Ogden's history, the Union Station, 100 years ago from the day it was placed. This station is not just a building, but a symbol of our city's growth and its heritage, and most of all, and most importantly for this cornerstone, it is a symbol of the hope and the opportunity that leaders in 1924 saw in this station, and the hope and the opportunity that is still surrounding the station today. So, in early Ogden, Ogden was originally organized in 1851, and it was largely settled by Mormon pioneers led by Captain James Brown here in this area. It quickly grew into an agricultural hub due to its fertile land and its strategic location, but it remained very remote and agricultural until 1869. The arrival of the Transcontinental Railroad in 1869 had set the stage for this expansion. And Ogden was on its way to be the junction city of railroading. And with the junction in 1869, Ogden was suddenly catapulted into the next few decades of growth and exposure to national trade, ideology, and tourism. So Ogden's very first station was thrown together through this rapid expansion following the railroad's meeting in 1870. And clapboard stations served Ogden, clapboard stations plural because nobody could agree to use just one. The junction site of the railroads was the subject of major political and economic controversy for many years after the Golden Spike was placed. But finally, in 1878, Ogden was declared the common junction for the railroad, and the depot originally built for Union Pacific was used for all railroads beginning in 1878. This station was painted violent red and required a quarter-mile walk to the central part of the city. However, this did introduce growth into our city. Through the 1870s and the 1880s, Ogden experienced significant growth, largely due to its position as the railroad junction. This was a major growth in tourism, with local resorts and parks opening up quickly at this time. The Ogden Canyon Hot Springs and what is now Lauren Farr Park were both opened at the same time in this era. And religious diversity was expanding with new sites of worship opening up. Public education in the 1880s was becoming higher quality and more widely available for the people of Ogden. As the city's population and infrastructure expanded rapidly, it became a key player in regional trade and transport. At this point, Ogden was the second largest city in Utah and has been described as the most cosmopolitan city in Utah because of its access to these unique ideas from these other parts of the country. And Ogden's agricultural roots were suddenly transformed by the station with the economic connection that the station brought. So canning factories and other industrial processes began coming to Ogden. So you remember that violet shade of red building? That original station built in 1870 was finally replaced in 1888 to accommodate increased rail traffic and the growing passenger needs of Ogden. This was the culmination of the years of efforts and complaints of the people of Ogden. The railroad companies hired noted architectural firm Van Brunt and Howe to design the building in 1886, and the foundation was poured when legal trouble with the railroad delayed the building yet again. But the people of Ogden were very excited about their building. They'd been agitating for years for a new building, and many scalding newspaper articles had been written about the shame of this small little shack they had. So when the Ogden Union Railway Depot Company was founded so they could continue work, and the cornerstone of this 1888 building was laid with great ceremony and symbolizing the city's aspirations and progress at the time. In 1888, that cornerstone was laid on November 5th, and it was marked with a time capsule, one with a lot of hope for the future. Ogden Mayor at the time, David Eccles, proclaimed the closure of all the bars in the city, and all merchants and professionals were encouraged to engage in the ceremony as well. He described the events as auspicious and signalizing the event for which the worthy people of the city have waited long patiently. 5,000 to 6,000 people attended, with parades and dignitaries and music bands playing in the snowstorm that cropped up that day. And local physician Dr. A.S. Condon commissioned a poem specifically for this event, dedicating it with all the hope and significance that he felt for this depot. We will be hearing this poem again today by our lovely poet laureate, performed live for the first time in over 136 years. The 1888 building was completed on July 31st, 1889. So between 1888 and 1924, Ogden continued to grow economically, becoming a central hub for the railroad and related industries. More railroads began using Ogden and its freight services with the development of the Ogden Union Stockyards, the biggest one west of Denver. And Ogden became a center for grain, for sugar beets, for manufacturing, as well as hosting 51 passenger trains every 24 hours by 1915. The population surged, leading to an expansion in urban infrastructure and services. And this station served Ogden through the Spanish flu, through economic woes, and through World War I. This period saw a flourishing of the local culture again, with the railroad bringing in many diverse influences and fostering a vibrant community life. Ogden's Orpheum Theater was built, the Standard Examiner became what it is today, and the public education became more formalized, with many new citizens establishing clubs, religious organizations, and charitable organizations. But all good things must come to an end. And on February 13th, 1923, a fire that started in a hotel room destroyed that 1889 building. While no one was injured in the initial blaze, one of the workers, Frank Yenser, was killed working the aftermath of the fire. He was working as a ticket clerk while servicing the still arriving trains. The people of Ogden rallied once again for a new station after railroad leadership opted to repair the building. After its 30-some-odd years of service, the 1888 building had been seen as ugly, unventilated, and poorly lit. So, with the rallying of Ogden, once again, a new station was built, our Union Station. Architectural father and son duo John and Donald Parkinson were commissioned to design the building, with other major Western Railroad stations already designed by them. and the new foundation was poured in April 1924, and we recognized that event last month as well. This cornerstone here that we're celebrating here today was laid with a vision for modernity and resilience, embodying messages and artifacts for the future for us today, 100 years later. And again, that was laid exactly 100 years ago today on May 31st, 1924. Once again, Ogden citizens united with music, parades, and fanfare to dedicate the building. One speaker at the ceremony declared that the new Ogden station would be the first pearl in a string of stations that will eventually reach from Omaha to San Francisco. I think they had some high hopes for this building. Grandmaster James W. Collins oversaw the ceremonies to a large crowd, and this included the placement of a time capsule that this crowd oversaw, one that we will be opening here tonight. And the crew of the H.W. Baum and Company contractors worked throughout the summer, and our building was dedicated less than 6 months later on November 22nd, 1924. Since 1924, our Union Station has been renowned for its architectural beauty, and it's been a landmark ever since. It's played a key role in Ogden during its golden age of expansion in the 1920s, as famous buildings like the Egyptian Theater, Ogden High School, and the Ogden Municipal Building were all built. Ogden was soon declared the gateway of the Intermountain West, and that you can't go anywhere without going to Ogden. And at this point, during peak passenger service, Ogden saw up to 119 steam trains and 58 electrical trains every single day. During the 1930s, Ogden's Union Station was able to support the city to more prosperous years. And some of the other major events our building has stood through is World War II, where we serviced over 1.6 million soldiers coming through our building and our Red Cross canteen here. And of course, as railroad traffic fell in the 60s and 70s, our active citizens and leaders pivoted for its use as a community center and as a museum today, where it has remained a cultural epicenter of the city. And this Union Station has served as the heart of Ogden for over 100 years now. So what is the most cool about this cornerstone for me is not just that it is supporting our building that's been so important, but that it's representing the city's spirit and historical journey and the amount of hope that they had for this organization. So during its life as a transportation hub and as a cultural center, our Union Station has been the heart of Ogden with its physical presence and its social and economic impact. As we stand before this historic station today, let us reflect on our rich heritage, the sacrifices of the people who have gone before us, and the responsibility we bear to the future generations to honor this station and to honor our fellow citizens. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Hope. Clearly, Ogden is a rail town. We're also an aerospace town if you listen to what goes on in the South. We're also an outdoor recreation town if you look at our beautiful mountains. But we're also an arts town, and we're very lucky that we have an appointed poet laureate that serves our city. As Hope mentioned, we'd like to welcome to the stage Angelica Brewer to read the 1888 original poem, The Laying of the Cornerstone.
Hello, everybody. What an absolute honor it is to be here reading this poem for you today. Thank you all for having me. This was Dr. Condon's poem dedicating the rock that prisons the history of the enterprise, written and shared November 6th, 1888 for the laying of the cornerstone for Union Station. From Cleo's pen, whose fairy castle rose hard by the rock where pure Castadia flows, we read that since time's miracle begun, men builded temples to the royal sun, and to the moon, the sun's inconstant bride, whose magnet hand controls the ocean's tide. In that far age of adolescent light, fanes rose for every marvel of the night. By cunning hands contrived ornately fair, they symboled types in sea and earth and air. For Cupid or for Mars, these temples stood on doubtful love or rocked on seas of blood. But we, interpreters of better things, a royal host of uncrowned queens and kings, check the rich current of a busy day to gather here with willing hands to lay, a cornerstone to commerce and to trade, to be a shrine, to be sanctified, and made the holy shibboleth of honest toil by this free gift of corn and wine and oil. Thus spake the master while they poured these three, and all the craft replied, so mote it be. From this proud stone a fabric bold shall rise, to be a pledge of this day's enterprise. Impatient feet shall tread its conscious floors, and pampered state crowd through these willing doors. Hard-handed toil shall wring from those their wealth, to clothe the form with grace, the brawn with health. The sun's first beam shall gild its stately dome, kiss back good night through twilight fading home. Through crumbling years may this proud temple stand, the honest glory of a favored land, be it a gem fit setting for a crown, to deck the brow of this ambitious town. On thee, fair city, all of our hopes are stayed. Through young in years, a buxom growing maid, rule from this hour the lake and hills between, put by thy dolls, today we hail thee queen. Within thy gates the marketplace shall thrive, in all thy streets shall swarm a human hive. No beggar's hand for pity shall outhold, his fleshless palm shall fat on well-earned gold. The grandeur of these mighty hills, the roar of leaping cascades down our Dead Sea's shore, touching the child's expanding soul, his name shall crystallize into another term for fame. Years will sweep on, and all who are today chilled by the falling night will pass away. Time's hand shall fill this basin as a plain, and smooth these valleys level as the main, this pile corroded with old age's rust. Consoled by life well spent, go down to dust. Then will a race, I hope, of better men take up our broken thread and weave it o'er again. Once more some pioneer will seek this sod, and millions follow where our feet have trod. Some Borean pilgrim musing on this spot, a recluse pointing moral from an age forgot, will fancy there is Thebes or Cairo near the sea, or some brave city of antiquity, and marvel much such prospects should arise. With these dead herbs asleep before his eyes, will conjure up a wizard's hand to guide, sink down a shaft, this moldy pile beside, seize on this rock and split the seams apart, and draw this record from its flinty heart. But to his soul 'twill never be revealed how much of hope to us this stone concealed. Thank you.
Thank you, Angelica. Uncrowned kings and queens. I think I'm going to remember that one. That's y'all. Thank you for coming out. To help us understand the purpose of cornerstones and the Masons' involvement in their placement, please welcome to the lectern Grand Master of Masons in Utah, Dave Tingey.
Builders today often use what is referred to as a control to lay out their work. This control is used to verify your elevations, as well as your longitude and latitude. This ensures that your building will sit exactly where it is supposed to, that the utilities such as water and power enter the building where they are planned to, that the rainwater and other weather sheds off the building, not doing damage to the structure, and more importantly, to the foundation. Builders long ago did not have the advanced, precise tools that are commonplace today. Instead, they set a cornerstone, and that stone was used as a point to measure from for the rest of the building. Because of that, it had to be precisely and firmly set. It could not be moved easily, because if it was, all the other building would be compromised by the amount out of place it was. You can imagine how painstaking and time-consuming it must have been to ensure that it was set in just the right place. It had to be. All the other work could be ruined if this one piece was even slightly incorrect. The strength of the building and the longevity it could stand depended on how accurately the builder placed this stone. Ancient Egyptian and Mesopotamian cultures would lay their foundation stones in a tradition similar to that of a groundbreaking ceremony, as a foundational ritual, the purpose of which was to call upon the favor of the gods to protect their structures from destruction by the elements or any other malevolent force. During these foundation rituals, stones would be hollowed out and filled with vessels containing an array of different symbolic items pertaining to the intended use of the building and the deity it was dedicated to. These stones were then placed in different corners of the buildings, at the entrance of the structure, or in some instances at a different point of importance, depending on the type of structure being built. Cornerstones have been set by Freemasons for centuries. May 28, 1755, Brother Ben Franklin, Grand Master of Pennsylvania, laid the cornerstone for the Pennsylvania Hospital. 37 years later, on October 13, 1792, President and Brother George Washington laid the cornerstone for the White House. The cornerstones that Freemasons set today are done symbolically. Because of their heritage of builders of cathedrals and other public structures, the Freemasons have, upon request, performed a special ceremony at the laying of cornerstones for buildings. They are done to memorialize the purpose in which the structure was built, and so that future generations can be reminded that this was important enough to spend a bit more time to celebrate the accomplishment. During that ceremony, the cornerstone is consecrated with corn, wine, and oil, all of which are Masonic symbols of prosperity, health, and peace. Freemasons use cornerstones symbolically in our fraternity as well. It symbolizes our own foundation and how all our decisions need to be measured against our symbolic cornerstone. It also teaches that if we take the time to build something using such great care, that it can last a lifetime and be looked up to. Freemasonry in Utah, and more regionally speaking, Ogden, also lives up to the symbol of the cornerstone, to the ideals of prosperity, health, and peace. The three lodges that work in this community are current supporters of the Utah Foster Care Foundation, the Homeless Veterans Fellowship of Ogden, and the YCC Family Crisis Center. Also, over the last decade, the Masonic Foundation of Utah has funded students from Ogden with scholarships totaling $81,000 and made grants to nonprofits in Ogden amounting to $185,000. Charitable giving of our time or monetary donations are some of the many examples of how the Masons of Ogden are committed to this community. We would like to thank the Ogden Union Station for inviting us to again be a part of this exciting event.
We'd like to now welcome back to the lectern Ogden's Poet Laureate, Angelica Brewer, to read a new composition that she has written just for today, entitled Cornerstone, inspired by the original poem, The Laying of the Cornerstone, that she recently read. Angelica?
Thank you for having me back. I was very inspired reading that poem the first time with the message of hope that's been mentioned as we've proceeded with the ceremony. And I wanted to write something that conveyed that same feeling of hope that I know and I think I can speak for Ogden, have for Ogden and the future of Ogden. Cornerstone. After Dr. Condone's The Laying of the Cornerstone, written in 1888. How much of hope to us this cornerstone concealed, this piece of the earth turned piece of the world, this junction of walls, meeting and leaving, the west and everywhere, this junction of time, standing still and passing by, and through crumbling years may this proud temple stand, its floors polished by the soles of feet and swept with the souls of the past. May the broken thread continue to be woven by all those who find this place to be chosen a destination, a fascination, a designation of proof that what is built can stand a century and another if you hold its space in the heart. It will, if we let it rise each new day as the sun and sleep soundly each night as its inconstant bride. It will, so long as we nurture the legs of it. It will. Awake be the cornerstone that held up this vessel of hello and goodbye, then classroom and interest, and soon more arrival and departure by its carefully crafted embrace. Its arms hug around the edges of what would be, what was, what became, what is becoming. The union, station of blooming, blossoming and growing, finding voice in it to echo, a century and another, because we do hold space in the heart for it to be. May the thread continue weaving. May it stand. May we nurture the legs of it again. Thank you.
During the hour or so that preceded the beginning of this ceremony, you may have noticed them removing the bricks around the cornerstone and exposing the vault. We would now like to welcome Museum Curator Hope Eggett, as well as Grand Master of Masons in Utah, Dave Tingey. They will now remove the time capsule. They'll place it on this cart. They're going to cart it into the Browning Theater. We're going to ask that you stay seated while the capsule is moved. After that, you're free to stand up, grab another beverage, hang out, and we will. I'll let you know what's going on after that. But we'll let Dave and Hope remove the time capsule. Check. So they're currently dusting off the top, applying a suction cup to the top so they can get purchase on the time capsule to lift it from within the vault. Removing the bricks and the mortar made a little dust there to make that suction cup kind of hard to stick, but we're getting there. Well, while we've got you and they're trying to remove that capsule, this is a good time to remind you that so at 7 o'clock, what's going to happen is at 6:50 or so, if we get the capsule out of there here shortly, we will open the doors to the Browning Theater. VIP seating will be up front. You'll see your seats in the theater. The rest of you are welcome to join in and fill the seats. Overflow seating is available in the grand lobby of the Union Station if you'd like to sit in there. Also, a quick reminder, the gift shop is open. It's a great chance to step in there and get yourself one of these cool 100th anniversary commemorative coins. They're selling those as well as other things. And we're going to remind you about a couple things that are coming up here at the station. There will be 3 free ramp Saturdays if you'd like to explore the museums here at the station this summer. That'll be June 15th, July 20th, and August 17th. You're welcome to go in and check out all those exhibits for free that day. On July 20th and 21st, the big boy will make its return to Ogden. So come see the world's largest operating steam locomotive here in Ogden on July 20th and 21st. September 14th, we'll do our Roaring 20s experience here on the plaza. Families can experience what life was like in the 1920s. There'll be music, costumed performers, and other people. You're welcome to wear your own costume as well. Photos. On the 28th of September, we're going to celebrate the day the construction was complete of the station. So come back for another celebration that day. Lots of great exhibits and programs going on throughout this centennial year. We'll talk more about those for the rest of the day. We're getting close. It wants to come out. All right, we got hands on it now. You can see the Masons do precise work. Back in 1924, they made that thing fit like a glove. Capsule is out. You'll notice this is a fully sealed copper box, and we will have a coppersmith inside in just a minute. We'll explain more about his role in this. But in the meantime, we're going to just, if you guys would just stay seated as we wheel the time capsule into the Browning Theater. And we'd like to invite our speakers to follow them as well, including the speakers that will be participating in the second section here at 7 o'clock. So if you're on the agenda for 7 o'clock, go ahead and follow the capsule in. Otherwise, now's the time to refresh your beverage, hit the restroom, grab a bite. Please no food or drink inside with the artifacts once the capsule is open. So now's the time to put something in your belly, and we will see you inside at 7 o'clock. Doors will open around 6:50 once we get the time capsule in place. Thank you for joining us for this portion of our ceremony. We'll see you inside. Welcome to the Browning Theater here inside Historic Union Station. Where you're seated right now at one point was the mail sorting annex for the Union Station. It was not attached to the building originally. The breezeway was put in after it was up, and then also this used to be the outdoor platform. Just so you're aware of the context of where you're sitting. I'd like to introduce a few panelists that we're going to have with us as we crack open this time capsule and look what's inside. First of all, I would like to welcome up here the past Grand Master of Masons in Utah, Lon Tibbetts, seated right here in the gray shirt.
Get over.
We're joined again also by Hope Eggett, our curator here at the museums at Union Station. Thank you for coming in, Hope. Our next gentleman needs no introduction. If you've been around Ogden for more than about 10 minutes, you should know Charlie Trentelman. He was the most popular columnist in the Standard Examiner for 35 years. Kept track of our history as it was happening, but he is also a very prominent local historian who has also done a lot of work here at the archives at Union Station. We're also joined tonight by the mayor of Ogden City, Mr. Ben Nadolski, who would like to address us for just a few moments. Ben?
Thank you, Shane. Thank you, everybody, for being here tonight. As I sat here and watched everybody funnel in, I saw a number of familiar faces. Many faces that I hadn't seen in a long, long time.
Yeah, what people?
And it was so interesting to reflect on the thing that brought all of you here, that gave me an opportunity to see you again for the first time. And it's something that brings all of us together, and it is our history. It is this moment in history. It's a tremendous honor to stand before you as your mayor, and it's a tremendous honor to be here in this moment in history. I want to invite each of you to reflect as we open this time capsule, to reflect on the current moment in history, to reflect on the moments that bring us to this point today, and to reflect on the people that are around you that we build this community with together, and then to think about the people whose shoulders that we stand on, the uncrowned queens and kings of Ogden. You are all uncrowned queens and kings of Ogden, just as those were that came before us. They are giants. Those are shoulders that we stand on and we build this community together with. This is a moment of history to be proud of, and we have a long history and past to be proud of. We may not be perfect, but we are Ogden. And Ogden is exactly what we want to be. It's exactly where we want to be. Thank you, everybody, for coming today to witness this moment. Thank you for reflecting with me and with us and the opportunity that we have to look to our future. We are in a historic building, a building that created Ogden, a building that welcomed the world and brought the world here. We are here because of this building and this space. We're here because a lot of the things that we're about to see and learn about in this box. But we have an opportunity in the future to honor this space, honor this history, to restore this Union Station, and to create our legacy in this moment in time, a legacy of having come together to fight for what is right, to fight for this space and for these resources, these artifacts, and this history, so that we can enjoy this legacy for many, many generations to come. And then we'll be the giants, all of us, these uncrowned queens and kings, who our future generations stand on our shoulders. And that's how you build not a city, that's how you build a community, and we build a legacy. So thank you everybody for being here with us today. Thank you to the staff who put in the countless hours to make sure that this happened right, for the research that they put in, and for the care that they gave to this event, and to these items, and to this opportunity. God bless you all, and let's have some fun and let's learn some things.
Thank you, Mayor Nadolski. As you see here, the time capsule is a sealed copper box. And to get it open, we have brought a coppersmith from right here in Weber County by the name of Tim Mintz. He's the owner of TNT Copper Fabrication right here in Weber County. And he's going to come out and crack it open with the help of his assistant, Greg Schroeder. Come on out, guys. Now, normally Tim puts together like beautiful copper range hoods over your stove and stuff. So if you need that done, look up Tim afterwards. This is not going to be quite as delicate an operation, I'm told. So go ahead, Tim. I believe what we're going to do is going to drill a small hole to start to get a little bit of purchase with a screwdriver and a hammer. It's going to be a violent little production here, y'all. And then he's going to smash it open and get it to where he can get his snips in there and start to cut away edges until we can finally reveal what's inside. So you'll see the action happening there on the screen as Tim begins his process of opening the capsule. Of course, being very careful not to damage any of the contents inside.
No kidding.
Is this that dull bit?
Oh, yeah. Anyone got a spare drill bit in their pocket?
Nice and easy. That's really all I need, to be honest.
Yeah, Tim, you're mic'd up. Why don't you walk us through a bit of what's happening beyond the dull bit in your process here?
Well, we're poking a hole.
Poking a hole. Hole is poked. That's the official term for what just happened. Poked hole.
I'm going to take these two tools. I'm going to just gash a hole, pry it open. And I'm going to get my snips in there, and then we're going to take it from there. You got this, Greg? This copper is actually quite thin. I'm surprised. Thought it would be thicker. So when your name's Tim Nimps and you use tin snips.
Tin snips. Those are Tim Nimps tin snips, in case you're wondering. We'll call them copper snips since that's what you're snipping here today.
I drilled a hole. It's good. Okay, we're going to start small. Thank you for this opportunity, Hope. Hope we can snip it just right.
Now, this is what you do if you want to make the historians in the room really gristle. You say, you know what? If you ever watched the Geraldo Rivera thing when he opened Al Capone's safe, remember that one? We wanted to make sure that didn't happen, right? So I can tell you there's stuff in there. So we're not looking at a nothing burger here today, y'all.
I just don't want
I was going to say, Al Capone once said about Ogden, it's too rowdy a place to get here. And that's when you see the historians go, oh, we can't verify that. Unfortunately, we were unable to be joined by Sarah Langs tonight from the Weber State University Special Collections and University Archives. She's a little under the weather, and we wish her a speedy recovery. But we still have plenty of historians here to answer your questions. What's going to happen as we get this open, each piece will be brought out. We have a camera directly overhead, kind of like the cooking shows that you watch on TV, so it'll be shooting straight down. They'll be able to show you every artifact as it comes out. The relevant expert seated here on stage can probably answer a few questions about what we're looking at. We do have an official list, thanks to the Masons, who kept very good records of what went into this time capsule. We have a pretty good idea what we're going to find. However, the reason a lot of us are here is there's always the unofficial entries, right? The people who were there at the last second who was like, yeah, put my girlfriend's picture in there, put my pocket knife in there. We don't know what the unofficial contents of this are. We have a pretty good idea what the official ones are, but slow and steady is the key here, right, Tim?
Yes, we don't want to.
It's not, there is stuff at the very top of this box.
Looks like a letter.
Yeah. Oh, Hope, you're just dying to get up here and peek in, aren't you?
Oh, I sure am.
Start small and get bigger. Snip, snip, snip. That's all I do. Nice. All right, let's go back this way. Let's see. I was going to bring my chainsaw, but
If you're starting to get a sneak peek at that letter at the very top, you might notice they had much better handwriting back in those days than we have now.
yeah, they actually used cursive. It's looking pretty cool. Off to the scrapyard.
I can hear Hope's heartbeat from right here. She's so excited to get it with the contents of this box.
Hey, come.
Come on up, Hope. Start taking a peek at this.
You're welcome.
Well, I'm putting a lot of trust in Tim's very capable hands. I've been very nervous about this for a long time now.
There's my drill bit.
Oh, there's the drill bit. That's a
We got it, right?
little bit unavoidable. They packed this thing very full for us tonight.
Nice. What do you think so far? Hey. I don't want to cut through that. I know what that is a little.
Looks like we have some sealed books as well that have been tied with ribbon. Everything looks like it's in phenomenal shape tonight, so we're going to have a good show.
All right. You be careful with the edges, okay?
I will. I'm not.
That's a nice
looking for
piece of
cut.
copper art you've made there with the lid, Tim.
Very snippy.
All right, we are in to the time capsule.
Scrap.
Thank you very much, Tim Mintz.
Let me see that.
Thank you.
Pretty cool.
Tim Nimps, Greg Schroeder, thank you guys so much for your help in getting us into this thing.
On these edges, okay? You want me to snip some more? Looks like
see how
it'll
it
get
goes.
it.
Okay.
All right, Hope, you want to walk us through the very first things we're starting to see here?
Oh boy.
Absolutely. I'm actually going to start off with a bit of a spoiler and shift this off to the side for a moment. I'm sure you'll forgive me for changing up the show on you tonight. So I first wanted to dig into the history of the Cornerstone itself. So our Masons tonight have graciously brought us some artifacts to explore about the Cornerstone itself.
Hole through the letter. Drill the hole through the letter.
So here we have trowels and gavels that were originally used at the 1888 ceremony to seal the cornerstone, and the gavel and the trowel from the 1924 ceremony as well. Lon, do you want to come tell us a little bit about these?
I do. So first of all,
Step off the stage.
there were three trowels that were actually used in 1924, and one of them is missing. It's in the possession of one of our other past grandmasters right this minute, but it was used to lay the cornerstone of the George Washington Masonic National Memorial in Alexandria, and it was also used in 1924 to help with the laying of this. There were three grandmasters who laid this cornerstone. Two of them were involved with the first laying in 1888. So they were back, very old, and assisted Grandmaster Collins in this. This is the cornerstone, or this is the, I can say it. This is the trowel that was used by Grandmaster Collins to lay this cornerstone. And this was the gavel that was presented to him by the Ogden chapter of the Knights Templar of Masons, along with this other trowel.
That's very interesting. You know, I've been reading the newspaper accounts of the laying of the cornerstone for many months now, and one of the things that they noted is that this was a very unique opportunity in our state to have the same Grandmaster present at two ceremonies for the same building. So very unique
Very
for
rare.
us.
Yes.
Thank you so much. All right.
Okay. Go ahead. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Fantastic. And then I have one other artifact to show you, and this is actually one that we've had in our possession for a few weeks now. As many of you know, we had to do a little bit of preliminary work to be able to access the Cornerstone for you tonight quickly and easily. And as we got into the Cornerstone, I was met with a kind of a historical mystery that I'd been wondering about for a while. And that was in the original newspaper article. There was two sentences at the end that I wasn't quite sure what they meant by. And the answer was they meant this. So these documents in here were laid by the Veterans Firemen's Association of Ogden, honoring some deceased firefighters that had been recently honored at the Memorial Day in 1924. And they laid it alongside the time capsule, not inside, and then placed bricks directly on top of them. So we are very grateful for the careful and scholarly work of the University of Utah for preserving these documents, so I can show you a little bit about them tonight. Let me see if I can get centered for you. So the University of Utah was able to encapsulate these documents to be able to share them with you. So we have first here a little statement on responsibilities that was laid by the firefighters, potentially the Masons, I'm not 100% sure, and a creed on the back as well, you can see. And then we get into a list of 65 deceased firefighters that had been honored in 1924. Because the bricks were sitting directly on top of them, a lot more water got in over the last 100 years. I'm surprised that this much has survived, honoring these deceased firefighters. We don't know if it was their intention that these documents come out again, but we're very grateful to be able to remember these stories today. They've also included some blank tissue paper for us as well. I don't know if that was supposed to protect it or what their plan was there. So on this final page of the firefighters' list of names, you can see in handwriting here something of deceased veterans firemen of Ogden, Utah, May 31st, 1924. All right. Okay.
So the way this is going to work tonight, as Hope retrieves artifacts and gets them checked out and tells us what we're looking at, she'll hand them down. We're going to start placing them along these front tables. And so by the end of the evening, all the artifacts will be visible out here at the tables, and we'll tell you how that's going to work if you want to come up for a closer look at some of these. But we'd like to welcome our panelists, if you're your historical buffs here on the stage, to come up, take a look. We'll just kind of have a conversation as we go through these things. But let's go ahead, Hope, and let's see what we got next.
Fantastic. Are we ready to get back into the actual time capsule? Okay. Now, Charlie, you better be sharing these pictures with the rest of us.
Oh, yeah.
Here we have a letter. Oh, this is one of the things I've been most excited for. So we can see this is an envelope from the Union Pacific system, and it's a statement from the Parkinsons about the description of the building. So there's been a lot of debate over the years about the architectural style of this building. Charlie, do you want to tell us a little bit about the Parkinsons, if you could?
Well, I don't know too much about the Parkinsons. The station was designed to along the same lines as train stations around the country. The one in Los Angeles looks a lot like this one. If you've ever been, and there's a lot of similarities. It's kind of, I think, Spanish Revival is what it's called. And I'll be interested to see what they say in here.
Exactly. And what's so interesting about our station particularly, it does have Spanish Revival tiles, and then the bulk of the building is Italian Renaissance inspired as well, based on our research. They thankfully did not seal this envelope for us, so let's see if we can get it out. Look, we don't even have a rusty paperclip on there.
Yeah.
Can lay this flat. This is a type statement from John Parkinson and Donald Parkinson describing the brick-bearing walls, the use of local materials. And of course, our grand lobby, the large waiting room, 60 feet by 120 feet, will be the principal feature of the building. They also make sure to note that this room is practically fireproof, which I'm sure they appreciated after losing their first building.
You know, when they talk about local materials, when you look out at the building along the top, you'll see round design features, rosettes all around. They look like kind of a Native American or some kind of design. I'm not entirely sure what they are. But when you look at those are not painted on. Those are individually cut stone, make up every part of those rosettes. There was quite a bit of handwork involved in the building of this building, which, considering how rapidly this building jumped out of the ground between August or September of 1923 and November of 1924, is just absolutely amazing. You look at all the brickwork, but those rosettes are just fascinating.
Thank you. So on the second page that they've attached here, we've got a list of the construction force for the building as well. So we know that the brickwork and most of the construction was done by the H.W. Baum Company, but we've had a very hard time tracking down the history of this company or any of the employees that worked on our building. So here we have a list of subcontractors in the construction force, including the timekeeper, the concrete foreman, the steel foreman, and a lot of subcontractors as well, local and international. Do you recognize any of those names on there?
Well, I've heard of the Ogden Press Brick and Tile Company, R.R. Reed, Salt Lake City. That's a Boise Cut Stone Company from Boise, Idaho.
Yes, I see George A. Lowe
Yeah.
Company. They were a hardware company that was based on Washington. Their building is still standing today. Fantastic. Any other questions you'd like to ask us about this one?
Does anyone else have a question about this? Okay.
Okay.
So I think we're going to try to sort kind of Ogden city-based history stuff, Mason-based history stuff, and station-based history stuff, right? So you instruct us where we want this to go, and we'll get it on the table for later viewing.
Fantastic. I think we're going to want that to go this direction. Or right away, I can see that this one is probably going to be a question for Lon. Do you want to take a look at it?
So this should be a copy of the invitation, unless I'm mistaken.
Wow.
Do you think this is the 1888 invitation or 1924?
This should be the 1924.
Somebody was very good at calligraphy back then. John Lewis.
Yeah, I'm sure that rings a bell for you as well as for me. John Lewis was a local jeweler. He also donated the clock for our 1888 building that was destroyed in the fire.
Yeah.
And it's in remarkable shape.
It really is. Let's send that this direction. We've got another envelope. This one is hopefully labeled the list of railroad employees, so hopefully that's what it is. This one, it also has the SP for Southern Pacific, the Ogden Union Railway and Depot Company, and the Denver and Rio Grande Western systems on here.
For those who don't know, the Ogden Union Railroad and Depot Company was a blanket company, like an umbrella company, that actually ran Union Station for all of the railroads that served Union Station. So it was a separate corporation that worked for all the railroads to keep the whole station running.
So we start up here with Ogden Union Railway and Depot Company. We can see the board of directors, including A.P. Bigelow, who designed the Bigelow Hotel up the street. Do you recognize any of those other names?
Not right off the top of my head now. Mr. Bigelow jumps out. Let's see. Treasurer, no.
Oh. Mhm. That is a good point. So he was the proprietor of the hotel. He was the business owner. Awesome. Maybe if we'll flip to these next few pages. Here's the Southern Pacific department heads.
Yeah.
These are much more national names. This will be interesting. I'm having a hard time with this paper here. It's been folded for 100 years. It would not like to come unfolded. Here's Denver and Rio Grande Western as well. We've got some Salt Lake City names on here and Denver, Colorado as well. You want to set that over there? Thank you. Well, there's some very nice handwriting again. The Black Ebony Sterling Mounted Gavel presented to James W. Collins. This is ringing a bell for you?
So yes, that is the page that goes along with the gavel
Yeah.
we saw earlier.
Oh, fantastic.
So the black ebony would be the wood species?
Yes. Yes.
Fantastic. Was this common for most gavels to be accompanied with a...
Typically, they would, that or a letter, one or the other.
Very nice.
So would that have been a gavel they just used for this event and then
Yes, just for this.
retired? Yeah,
Will you? Yes.
yeah.
Reunited for the first time in many years.
Now, I work in the travel and tourism industry, so I recognize what this is.
Do you want to share?
Go ahead.
So this is a descriptive timetable of the Denver and Rio Grande Western between Denver and Salt Lake and Ogden from spring 1924. So we'll see if this wants to come unfolded for us. Well, I think we got shafted here in Ogden. That's what I'm seeing immediately. They have some tourism activities in Denver, Salt Lake, and Ogden.
Look at that tiny little bit for Ogden down at the
What did
bottom.
they say we should see in Ogden back then?
They said that we should go visit Lester Park and Liberty Park and Ogden Canyon.
There you go, folks. The hot spots in Ogden: Lester Park, Liberty Park. There you go.
In population 40,000, it says there. So actually haven't grown all that much in 100 years.
It's not, that
Yeah.
print is so small, I'm impressed you guys can read that.
The glasses.
It's tiny.
They're called glasses, Mary. You know.
I see words, but I can't read it. Yeah.
So you've got some connections listed here. So Ogden was, of course, Junction City, if I can speak. And we were one of the terminal points for Denver, Rio Grande. I don't know if that page is going to turn for I. So we can see some of the local timetables coming through. Visiting Park City, Salt Lake City, Denver. And a very helpful map if you're interested in traveling the country.
There you go.
There we are. Can we see that nice and well? And now we see the Transcontinental Railroad.
Until they merged, the UP and the SP met in Ogden. But if you were going west from Denver to San Francisco, you had to get off of a Union Pacific train in Ogden and transfer onto a train from the Southern Pacific to keep going. And that also was required for baggage and things like that. Fun story if you want to ask me about it sometime. If you kill somebody in Denver and want to ship their body to San Francisco, don't let the body or don't let the baggage sit in the storage room in Ogden for any length of time, or you will be captured.
This is a story from experience.
Yeah, and this actually happened.
Appreciate that wisdom, Charlie.
Yeah, well, you know,
That's just good life advice. Thanks, Charlie.
these people think this
Y'all
is a solemn
learning something
occasion.
tonight.
Fantastic. And to keep with the railroad theme, here we are onto Union Pacific system. We got more timetables. They've got quite a number of options for us here.
Yeah, 50 trains a day. And
Well, and here's our name right at the top between Chicago, Omaha, Denver, Ogden, and San Francisco.
got a picture of the causeway.
Oh, they do.
Yeah.
Would you like to share anything about the causeway?
Well, the causeway was built in
That's right here.
1904. It basically is the reason you don't go through Promontory anymore to get west from here. It's currently now, it was a trestle, now it's the causeway, and creating the north and south ends of the lake. But it's still in use.
It's interesting to think
Yeah.
that that was only 20 years old when this was
Yeah.
last taken out of this box. I'm gonna pass that.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
They stopped using it for passenger rail when they put the causeway in and replaced the trestle because the causeway is lower and waves from Great Salt Lake were breaking windows on the passenger rail cars so much that they had to quit running trains over it, passenger trains over it. That was in the 80s.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Awesome. We've got another timetable for you. I hope you guys aren't sick of these yet. This is why they call it the Nine Rails District, I guess. We've got Southern Pacific here now. Each of these were set up very differently from each other. The American Canyon route via Ogden. You know, I'm not 100% sure which route
What
they're
was the
talking
question?
about there. The
I don't know
American
what-
Canyon route.
Well, yeah, let's see where it's going through. Here, Chicago.
This looks like a national level route. It's here on the page with San Francisco and Chicago bound trains.
Leave Ogden, Salt Lake City, leave Ogden, Denver.
You can see these are set up for which trains, what options you have on each day of the week. Mayor, do you want to come take a look and see how many trains were coming through Ogden
I was gonna.
each day?
You think I can see this?
Well, there's Ogden, there's Ogden, there's Ogden.
Take your word for it. I was wondering if 100 years ago, if people could just see better than they do now, or if it's just
Yeah.
me.
They haven't been staring at screens all the time, Mayor.
Yeah. Do you ever have one of those moments in life where people call you up on the stage and they ask you to read things that you can't read?
Oh, we'll forgive you this time.
I'm going to guess if the ones going from Ogden to Salt Lake would go south, the southern route that Amtrak runs now. But if it's just going straight from Ogden to Denver, it would probably go up Weber Canyon, following the route of the original.
I am not seeing any prices in here immediately. I think they kind of have monopoly on some of these routes.
Yeah. No, it just shows the times, not the cost.
Can you see that? No. Okay.
Because there are a variety of options. You could take a sleeper car or a regular coach chair or
With enough time.
well, let's see. 8, 10, 7. Table 22 from San Francisco to Boy, that's a local. Look at all those snaps.
No, this one's staying in
Yeah.
California. Let's see if
Yeah.
we can find a better example. Here we are back on the San Francisco to Ogden option.
Mm-hmm.
Historically, we'd probably be looking at a few days rather than just a
Well-
matter of hours.
Thursday, Tuesday, Thursday, yeah.
Fantastic. Let's see if we have one final time capsule in here,
Yeah.
or one final timetable.
You can catch the Amtrak in Salt Lake about 10 o'clock in the evening if you're going west to San Francisco, and you get to San Francisco 5, 6 o'clock the next afternoon. So, and I don't think those trains run as fast as some of these might have, so.
All right, if we move on to our next object, I don't believe this is actually a timetable, but I'm not 100% sure what this is. It says rules and regulations, authority and responsibility of station master. Oh, this is the very local. This is just the Ogden Union Railway and Depot Company that ran our station and the surrounding tracks. Keeping track of the other companies that are using their rails as well.
It shows when the various trains are leaving Ogden for the various companies. The Union Pacific going westward, 6:25 a.m., 6:30, 7:30, 11:35, 1:05, 2, and 5. And various trains going various places. And then the Oregon and Denver and Rio Grande and Southern. Trains going all the time. Just like an airport now with airplane.
Exactly. I'm glad that we have the screens instead of complicated tiny papers.
Yes.
Here's something Charlie will recognize. You might find his byline in what's about to come out of here.
Oh,
next.
Lord. Not that old. Not quite, anyway.
I'm trying to gently remove it from the box. Well, Charlie, I think this is your cup of tea.
Ah. Well, it's a copy of the Ogden Standard Examiner from. Try to be gentle.
The Standard
with it.
Examiner had only been recently created in 1924. It had been merged from earlier papers, the Standard and the Examiner.
Yeah, there's a reason there's a hyphen there. The Ogden Examiner had roots going back to about 1872. The Ogden Standard, which was a morning paper, was founded around 1910, and the two were kind of owned by the same people, but they were running until about 1921, 22, they finally joined them. But that's why it's called the Standard-Examiner, because it's actually two papers. But
What's the date on this one?
May 27th, 1924. A lot of good news going on that day. Ogden man sets forth, window smashes home, still storms. Storms are always causing news.
We've got Ogden Chief of Police Eric Young in the audience. I think he's looking at police find kidnapping clues closely.
Now, this is interesting here.
Solving a kidnapping from
Frank-
1924.
Frank Francis was a columnist and editor of the Ogden Standard and then Standard Examiner. And he was mayor of Ogden in 1922-23 when the original station burned down, and he led the local effort to get this station built. I go right there.
Fantastic. We've got lightning. We got more fires. The fires were a very big danger. Thanks to our fire department,
Yeah.
we worry about that a little bit less. We're very grateful for them.
Now, one thing you don't see in newspaper today, look at all these little stories from all around the country. This was basically the Facebook of its day.
I am a big fan of this article here. Supposed kidnapped girl merely avoiding school. Fantastic. And if you want to read this in more detail, we'll of course have these on display down on the floor there.
Yeah. And the University of Utah has a wonderful website where all of these newspapers have been digitized and made word searchable, so you don't have to take this 100-year-old piece of paper and try to open it up, which I wouldn't do. But you can read the whole paper online now for free.
think this is another
that's Mason's
question
thing there.
for Lon here.
What are we looking at, Lon?
Can you read it okay?
Yes. So it says roll of Weber Lodge, number 6, Ogden, Utah, May 31st, 1924. So this is the list of members of that lodge that we show listed in our index.
Oh, interesting. So is number 6 the one that's still over Ogden today?
So it joined with another lodge here, and it's now Golden Spike Lodge number 6.
See if we can get this to come out of its paper. I'm not 100% sure if it will. They've packaged it very strangely. This paper is a little bit stiff. I can hear it cracking a little. I'll try to be very gentle. I think they had some latecomers to the party.
Yes, probably additions. So you'll see here the officers that were in 1924, the past masters of that lodge, and then you see a list of master masons. There are no fellow crafts, but they do have, it looks like that year, 3 entered apprentices. It also shows that they had a couple of brothers who left the lodge. They reinstated 2, they rejected 8 with their petition, and then the members who had died that year are also listed. Fairly standard end-of-the-year report for us.
Fantastic. What does this text at the bottom say? Cornerstone Ogden Union Depot, laid by Utah Grand Lodge, May 31st, 1924. And then it's signed by the secretary?
Yep. Looks like signed by both the secretary and the assistant secretary.
Very nice. That way we know it's accurate.
Some familiar family names from the area, and see a Browning. Thanks.
Some of you people, I'm sure, have ancestors on this.
See if I can get this folded up to some extent.
Yeah.
Well, Charlie, here's another one of your papers here. This one's a little... This one's from May 30th, 1924, the day before this ceremony, the Thursday.
Yeah. How many know who Coolidge was? Yeah. 20 fearless auto drivers start race. I love reading newspapers from back then. Cars were still such a unique thing that if somebody took a drive from Salt Lake to Ogden, it made the newspaper.
Like, this is a quieter day.
Yeah.
Hawaiian volcano quiet during day.
Well, this is Memorial Day going on here, though. You can see that. And
Find owner of lost pair of glasses.
Page One News. Page One News.
Slow news day.
Yeah. Son of millionaire questioned by police about spectacles. That's like, wow.
Suspect nabbed, dying druggist, also to be questioned about mystery.
Yeah.
They're also already attracting committee members for the 4th of July here in Ogden.
Yeah.
This is before the days of Pioneer Days, so they're
Yeah.
celebrating. We've been official state of the United States for less than 30 years at this point.
Sorry. Very gentle. It's extremely brittle.
Salt Lake Tribune.
Here we are. So this one must have been brought up in the pockets of somebody who was at this Cornerstone ceremony. It's listed on the official contents, but it is from the morning of the ceremony. We know the ceremony took place in the early afternoon. We can read this 18-page newspaper for only 5 cents. Here we have an interesting article about a soldier that had died that was giving tribute. World War I had recently concluded, so I have to guess that was the soldier that they're talking about, reflecting on the past Memorial Day. I'm sure that day held a lot of meaning for the people of 1924.
Now, Mayor, can you read this too? Because there's tiny little type on this thing.
I
Look at
can.
that type. That is small type.
You got to get some of these, Charlie.
We can also see some foreshadowing for World War II as we look about the Germans becoming more jingoistic and Japan's military power as well. And one more newspaper. Let's see what we can do for this one. This one's a little bit stiffer. And the Salt Lake Telegram from Friday evening.
Yeah, the Salt Lake Telegram was a major newspaper in Salt Lake City that covered the state. It mostly ran news from other newspapers and from wire services and things like that. Quite often, if you can't find a story about something in Ogden, in the Ogden paper, you can find it in the Salt Lake Telegram.
You can see the other side here. Oh, we got a little cartoon that might ring true for our parents today. How are you doing with your arithmetic lesson, son? The teacher said I would be doing better if you didn't help me.
Some things never change. So what car race is this?
That is a great question.
Is this the, well, it must be the Indianapolis for Memorial Day, yeah.
Speedway Indianapolis, May
Yeah.
30th. An 8-cylinder speedster. It's the Indy 500, back in 1924. We've got a lot of Memorial Day content in here as well. This one's the Deseret News from Friday, May 30th. Let's see. It's Mrs. Sydney Steele and her husband, John Steele. She is getting divorced because he is drunk and lavishes his attentions on other women. Front page news.
And you thought the news today was bad.
Mr. Steele denies this and claims he is forced to wash dishes and cook.
Yeah.
Charlie, I don't know if you know the answer to this question. I'm not seeing a lot of authors listed on these articles.
Yeah, they didn't use bylines as a normal thing until much, much later. If you got a byline back then, you had really done an amazing job and it was a reward. Usually they did that instead of paying you well. But yeah, bylines were not a normal thing until in the last 30, 40 years. Yeah.
This is
Sorry, what? Yeah. Oh, yeah.
thank you.
Well, newspapers ran each other's news all the time. It was a very normal thing back then.
Exactly. I wanted to show our audience our time capsule here. We're still only in the first couple inches here. And let's see if we can get this envelope out.
Wedged in there pretty tight now with the book
It
against
is.
the edge and the.
We've also got a book crammed up against this back
Yeah.
half here.
Looks like it's from the Ogden Weber Chamber of Commerce.
Let's see if I can't get it out.
Looks like an envelope of cash.
And this is for the mayor. Thank you.
It's not heavy enough to be gold. I heard some of you people speculating.
Let's see if they sealed this for us.
That was a good one, Hope.
I'm actually amazed everything in this capsule is dry because there have been many time capsules opened up where it's just been mush inside because it wasn't properly sealed, or after 100 years, there's very few seals that will hold up. So this is wonderful.
The Chamber of Commerce offered us a lot of materials today. The annual report of the Weber Club.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if this is Masonic.
Now, the Weber Club was a businessman's club
Yep.
for all of the really, really wealthy people in Ogden. It used to be at the top of the Eccles building at 24th and Washington. And basically all the rich people in town whose name was Browning or Eccles, all the people whose names you see on everything around town now, they would sit around, oh, what should we do to make money? Shall we start a streetcar company? And they'd just do it. And that's how the business in Ogden was done. And it was a very exclusive club.
We can see here on the back they've listed the obituary of M.S. Browning. That's Matthew Sandifer Browning,
Yeah.
who had recently passed away, the brother of John M. Browning, the famous gun inventor that we have his museum in our upstairs here.
Yeah. Matthew Sandifer was the one who actually ran all the businesses for the Browning Company. John invented a lot of the guns. Matthew did a bunch of those too. Steve, I remembered. But Matthew ran all the businesses. He ran the streetcar company. He ran a railroad up to Logan. He ran an auto dealership here in town. They were everywhere.
Yeah, we've got a list of members in here, and they're all very prominent Ogden
Yeah.
families. We can see the Scowcrofts, the Wheelwrights, and we've got their business records as well. Oh, this one's interesting. I wasn't expecting this one. The Ogden Union Stockyards.
Boy, I remember a lot of these names.
Your livestock market by 1,000 miles. We got some lovely pictures of horses and cattle here. I think this should look familiar to a lot of people here. It's a button. So this was a slogan come up with by the Chamber of Commerce. I'm actually interested to see it here in the 1924 capsule
Yeah,
because I've seen that attributed to coming around later.
yeah, I know. Yeah, that's...
We've got some photograph miniatures.
Yeah.
Want to take a look at these?
Yeah, this is like the things you could buy in souvenir shops. You could put a stamp on it and mail it to your cousin in Chicago or wherever. And basically, pictures of the scenery in Ogden Canyon.
The Weber River Canyon.
Lester Park in Ogden.
Well, we know from earlier that that's one of the major
Yeah.
tourist icons.
The Narrows in Ogden Canyon.
How many of them do we have here? Probably 30?
In the thing here. I don't know, what does it say? 20. 20 separate views.
I'm also extremely interested in what this coin is. I'm not sure if this is an official coin. Oh, actually, I do know what this is. I'm not sure if our audience is going to be able to see until you get up closer, but this is the Monroe Doctrine Centennial Coin. So the Monroe Doctrine was a piece of foreign policy that was established in 1823. We can see on the front here, we've got John Quincy Adams and James Monroe. And it's actually a very interesting story about why this ended up in our time capsule here in Ogden, Utah. So Hollywood was having a problem at the time, and it was called their actors were on trial for murder, and their actresses were in all sorts of scandalous behavior. So to improve their reputation, Hollywood decided to put on a good, wholesome Monroe Doctrine Centennial celebration. And nobody was interested in the Monroe Doctrine celebration. So they started giving out these coins willy-nilly, and that's how it ended up in our box here today.
But it is an official coin. You could go out and buy lunch with it.
I'm no coin collector.
If you were to go buy one of those today, $40, $50 probably. Oh, it's 50-cent piece. It's a $50. In this condition, it's like new. It's just lovely.
So we've got the roaster of the Rotary Club as well, another one of these social clubs that was prominent in Ogden, complete with a guest card from the Chamber of Commerce. This card entitles you to park your auto as long as you please while in Ogden. Never mind the time limit. What do you think?
Is that still valid today? Can we use that when the new paid parking goes into effect?
This is a happy moment.
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to bring up the paid parking. You know, never hurts to copy a few of those, though.
You could actually do a whole book on parking in Ogden. It's gone from pay to free to pay to free any number of times. Harm Peary even sold people from out of town discount gasoline at the city's pumps to get them to shop in Ogden.
Can we bring that back,
Harm beat
Mayor?
you
Can we
to
get
it.
discount gasoline to shop in Ogden? You going to work on that?
Yeah.
Now I know. Now I know I was invited to stand here.
We've got a history of Ogden. We've got this lovely image of L.W. Shirtliff in 1855. And Ogden surrounded by beauty. I think that's still true today.
Oh, yeah.
Four of Ogden's great industries, they're applauding the cement industry. Ogden, the Minneapolis of the West.
That's our new slogan for the tourism agency, for the tourism bureau. The Minneapolis of the West.
Well, it says Ogden in the sugar industry. Amalgamated Sugar was another Matthew Sandifer Browning business, and used to be located just off 1900 West. But this was a major sugar producer at one time.
We got some tourism information, payroll builder as well. Talking about some of the different things. I flipped right to Lagoon ready for a 1924 season. One of Ogden's one of Utah's most popular summer resorts.
In 24, it had already moved. Yeah.
They're advertising their children's playground with swings, slides, and other apparatus. We got livestock shows, flowing wells. And there's Becker beer. Do you want to tell us a little bit about Becker
Becco,
beer?
better than beer. This was during Prohibition, and so Becker's beer had to come up with something that was not alcoholic, and that's what this was here. They were just trying to stay in business and give jobs to local people.
So they were brewing that right next to the Ogden River, right?
Yeah.
Just to the west of Washington Boulevard. And when we did the Ogden River Restoration Project in 2007, 2008, we recovered artifacts from those.
Oh,
Yep.
thousands of old beer bottles over
Yep.
there. I've got a couple.
Yep.
Yeah. Gus Becker was one of the major opponents of Prohibition in Ogden because he said it was taking jobs away from Weber farmers and Weber workers. And so he gave many, many speeches against Prohibition. He was also the official supplier of soft drinks to the heads of a large religion that's headquartered in Salt Lake City.
You can see some of the ads for local companies again. We've got Lagoon again. Appeals for better schools. And the Reed Hotel. We've got the Kiwanis Club from January 1924 as well.
Yeah, just keep all this stuff by the envelope. Yeah.
We've got some blank letterhead as well. I can get it open. From the Ogden Chamber of Commerce. I bet you get letters from these. The Rotary Club. And one third one. The Ogden Livestock Show from the
Oh, I
Union
love that.
Stockyards. They got some lovely cattle on the bottom there.
I love the letterheads they used to put on these things. They were just gorgeous and very, very nicely done. Look at the drawings on there.
Yeah.
You know, every letter they sent out was an advertisement, so they made sure to put that on there.
So here we have the Hermitage, the Utah's interurban trolley trip, nature's masterpiece in Ogden's Canyon. So this is an ad for the Bamberger and the Utah Rapid Transit Company, 100 miles for $2.
Whoops.
Here's Lagoon again.
Yeah.
Here's a report from the Ogden Chamber of Commerce as well, with their revenues and losses. We know in the 20s in Ogden was doing pretty well overall.
Oh, yeah.
And they've got all of their major highlights of the year as well. It's really interesting to see the contents of these, what they were trying to tell the story about Ogden in the 1920s of this place of prosperity and beauty. You got advertising plans. Do It for Ogden, published by the Ogden Chamber of Commerce. In April, March, looks like we have some earlier months as well. February. Here's some churches as well that were being established. So we've got the First Methodist Episcopal Church, the Presbyterian Church, the Latter-day Saint Tabernacle, the First Church of Christ Scientists.
Most of these you can still see around town today, yeah.
It's interesting to see who they're including and who they're not including in these. Here's a list of rules and regulations from the 5th Annual Ogden Livestock Show. And the Livestock Exchange Building. Do you want to tell us a little bit about this building?
Well, the Exchange Building, that was where they ran the whole livestock auction and everything over where they just got done tearing down the old, what was it, canning building over there. And the stockyard building is still there, yes. Yeah, the Exchange Building, yeah, it's still there.
Working on it.
Yeah.
Yep.
He's the guy in charge of that part right there.
Yep.
But
The corner of it's fallen down, so we're working to stabilize the corner, and then we're going to find someone to restore the entire thing.
But Ogden was a major, I mean, it was second to Chicago in livestock ship handling. If you go over there today, you can see a lot of really funny concrete step thingies all lined up along the river. Those were all made to load and unload livestock off of the railroad cars coming into Ogden or going out of Ogden.
We can see how much work and how much financial prowess Ogden was bringing in through these livestock. I mean, even just that the Chamber of Commerce has put this much stuff in about the livestock. Here's the American Canyon route again, going over the Lucin Cutoff, 30 miles from shore to shore, with our beautiful steam train crossing the Great Salt Lake there. And there's our Union Station, the 1889 building.
Yeah.
They didn't get the message that
Well,
it
they
was
didn't
not
have a
there
picture
anymore.
of the new one yet. It's still being built.
That's true. And here we have some facts about Ogden, some travel sites to see. We got rocks in Ogden Canyon. You can see mineral wealth. We can see some beautiful facts about Ogden that are trying to attract businesses here. Ogden schools are unsurpassed, and the city abounds in beautiful homes. Utah has more paved highways than Colorado, Mountain, Idaho, Wyoming, and Nevada combined. And here's the Hermitage again. You want to tell us a little bit about the history of the Hermitage?
Well, it was a resort up Ogden Canyon, which burned down about 3 times. The problem
It's a hazard of the time.
the problem with resorts in the mountains is that they're in the mountains, and it's hard to get a fire truck up to them in time, and usually they're made out of wood. But it was a very popular site at the time. They even had a little merry-go-round and other amusements there. People could boat on the river. It was very popular. One of the things we wish we could find is photographs of the inside of it. If any of you people have your grandmother's album and it's got a picture from the inside of the Hermitage, we need to find that.
And our last item from the Ogden Chamber of Commerce. Let's see what they have for us here. Besides some very thin paper. A report on the climate of Ogden. The climate of Ogden and the surrounding valley of the Great Salt Lake is delightful and remarkably helpful. Statistics show that Ogden's death rate to be among the lowest of the cities of the United States. We have some weather description. They talk about our wonderful apples.
Yeah.
Peaches.
Yeah, and probably peaches somewhere in there. Yeah, peaches. Well, you got to remember this was an agricultural area at the time.
True.
One of our major exports around here was, food for, the American Canning Building. Had to can all that stuff. It was all grown around here. One thing I like about this, the language, it's very typical of the time of a process called booming the city, where even if the air wasn't the purest air in the world, the Chamber of Commerce tended to say it was. And the water was the purest in the world, and the education was the finest in the world, because all this was meant to advertise the community to outsiders so they'd bring their business here. To the point where the newspaper every year in January would print what they called a progress edition, which was nothing but stories describing the entire town. And if you look at those, they're all total praise for this area. Nothing bad ever happened in Ogden, according to those.
Well, I mean, the kidnapping turned out to be a girl trying to skip school, so I mean.
Yeah, exactly.
Fantastic. You want to just stack that up for me? Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. I think this is going to be a little bit of an effort to get out. If I'm not mistaken. Well, maybe I'll try to pull out this book on the side here.
Don't lose that.
There we go. The Railroad
Oh, wow.
Gazetteer from October 1888. So now we are getting into the section of the time capsule that was rescued from the burnt out building of 1888 and placed again into this time capsule. We don't have everything that was in that 1888 time capsule, but they did save a few items for us today.
Oh, wow. I'm hesitant to handle that much because they printed these things on really cheap paper back then.
You can see some advertisements in there and
Railroad
a lot
schedules.
of railroad schedules as well.
Kind of like when you go to the store in January and get an almanac, probably the same thing.
You can see the popular steam engines of the time on here as well.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I love the art they did back then. It was amazing.
I'll show off for the crowd again. You can see here we've got this large bound parcel in here that I'm not sure quite how to get out. We've got some documents here to the side that might be helpful to remove. Here's another one for Lon.
All right, so this is a letter, it looks like, from Sam Henry Goodwin, who was the Grand Secretary of the Grand Lodge of Utah. He says, the most worshipful Grand Master, James William Collins, and officers of the Grand Lodge Free and Accepted Masons of Utah invite you to be present at the ceremonies attending the laying of the cornerstone of the Union Depot at Ogden, May 31st, 1924 at 4 o'clock. Grand Lodge will meet at the Masonic Temple, Salt Lake City, promptly at 1 o'clock and will march in a body to the Union Pacific Depot, escorted by Alcala Band and Patrol, Royal Arch Masons, and Knights Templar.
I think they've included 2 copies for us. Get a handwritten copy of the same invitation?
Yes, well, different. This one is a prior. This is the copy
the-
from 1888. So this one is signed by the Grand Secretary, who was Christopher Deal at the time. Christopher Deal was the Grand Secretary of Utah for 41 years, nearly, died in office. But in 1888, he was now inviting similar thing. Dear Sir and Brother, the most worshipful Grand Master, Samuel Paul, and the Grand Officers, the Grand Lodge of Ancient and Free and Accepted Masons of Utah, most fraternally invite you to be present and participate at the ceremonies of the laying of the cornerstone of Union Depot in Ogden on Monday, November 5th, 1888 at 2 o'clock p.m. The Grand Lodge will meet at the Masonic Hall, Salt Lake City at 9 o'clock a.m. Please attend and appear in dark clothing and black hat. Fraternally yours, Christopher Deal.
I like this note at the bottom. It says railroad fare will be half rate from all points. Fantastic. We've got 2 copies of the same thing here. Now you can see that we've got this larger bound package as well. So we'll be interested to see what's in there. See if we can get that out. This is
Brown
pretty
paper
heavy.
packages tied up in string is what that is.
It is. Let's see, can I? This is quite thick. This is several inches thick. We might have to.
Is Tim still here?
Where are,
Did Tim leave? Uh-oh.
Well. Well, let's see if we can't do it ourselves then.
Try lifting that corner there and then.
We can cut the string and try to pull it out one by one. Honestly, they didn't tie it very tight, so let's see if we can't just get it unraveled a little bit.
Put the blade away, man.
They did use a lot of twine here. Let's not rip that. I can feel that there's a book or something that they've carefully wrapped up here. We do. Maybe let's make some more room by clearing out this side.
I know.
They really wanted to get as much as possible into this box. Well, Mayor, I think you'll recognize this document as well.
Record of building permit issued by the Office of the City Engineer. This is the copy of the building permit to erect the new Union Depot building to replace the former structure destroyed by fire.
Well, there we are. And it's also dated May 31st as well.
It is.
Got that building permit just in time.
You guys are killing me. Can we get something, maybe we could cut these corners, peel them back? Thank you.
Fantastic.
Thank you, Mayor Shepherd of Clearfield.
See if we can't get these documents out from over here as well. Oh, we got some photographs. Let's move that out of the way. And here we have that 1889 building. It looks like we're viewing it from the passenger tracks. We can see some passenger canopies over here. And it looks like that is 25th Street.
The resolution's impressive, even with my bad eyes.
Yeah.
Right?
Looks like this is some of the freight service that the railroad was doing at the time.
Charlie, what was the total number of tracks that were once stretched out west from here? 17, is that right? 11 or 17 were two of the numbers that are
I
coming
think
to
there
my
were
head.
10 or 12, yeah.
And there was a tunnel underneath that would take you up so you could pop up for each platform when there were
Yeah,
trains on
it's
the
still
track.
there.
Yeah. So those are the tunnels in Ogden.
Yeah.
Don't go looking for the other ones on 25th Street. You historians know those
They're
aren't
not
really there,
there.
right?
I see some writing on the back, Ogden Union Depot. This photo property of Ogden Chamber of Commerce. Well,
Taken by Goshen Studio.
does this one have any helpful?
Let's see. Chamber of Commerce.
Oh, this is the Southern Pacific shops
Yeah.
in 1924. They'd only moved in the 1888, so they were still proud to have them.
Yeah. This looks like it was used in the newspaper at one point in time 8 columns, 5-column drop. Those are newspaper terms.
We've got another paperclip on here that's lasted the last 100 years. There we are. This got folded a little bit in there, unfortunately. We've got descriptions of the financial statement of the First Utah National Bank and the Security State Bank.
What's that check?
Oh, there is a check right here in the back. First Utah National Bank, May 31st, 1924. Paid to the order of
First Presbyterian, $10. I wonder if that's still good. Okay, that was a lot of money back then, $10 back in 1924 when a good week's wages was $30 or so. So
I think that might be one of the unofficial contents. I do not
Yeah.
remember seeing a $10 check
Yeah.
on that list.
yeah. Well,
I'm
My-
having a hard time with this paperclip. I don't want to damage these
Yeah.
things too much. Looks like we have the Ogden State Bank as well, and the National Bank of Commerce, including with the statement of their financial situation. Do we have some clippers now?
Not really.
Well, do you want to do the honors?
Not at all.
there you go.
Am I making you nervous?
A little bit. I don't know.
I'm dealing with history here, Mayor.
Tim made it look easy. So we have some clearance for this large package.
It's like they built that box to match that parcel.
Yeah.
Well, I think they wanted this one to last. They had to pull the last one from the fire. They didn't know what this one was going to have to live through.
That should do it.
Okay, here
Fantastic.
you go.
Now, don't
Well,
cut
before I pull
yourself.
out the package, maybe we should pull out the rest of these smaller items. Here's another one of those trowel certificates. Is this the same as the last one, or is this?
I think this one looks to be similar to the last. In this case, it's not the gavel, but it's the trowel. Presented by John Lewis, past Grand Commander of the Knights Templar of Utah.
Sterling silver trowel and all that.
No gold yet, though.
No gold. For you people I heard speculating, we haven't seen any gold.
I'll wait for the mayor to come back for this one. I'd like to get his thoughts on this. We've got the monthly financial statement for the month of February 1924, Ogden City. Why don't you take a look?
Yeah.
Thank you, Hope.
How was the city doing back then?
Where's Lisa Stout? I saw her. Did she just leave? Our lead finance expert for the city was here. She'd be really interested in this.
So we still have the attorney's office. We have
Yeah. Waterworks bond fund for $436 in the water bond. We're just about to begin a $100 million pipeline project in that same fund today.
You got the cemetery trust fund as well. We got perpetual care in the amount of $125.
No, we know how to handle it.
Yeah.
Sanitary sewer bonds, street paving.
That was a big effort in 1924. It was becoming more and more important to have paved streets.
Yeah.
I'm so happy to be up here.
So I saw a fund for the city hall on here. This is actually predating our municipal building that your office is currently in. This is the
Yeah.
earlier office,
Yeah.
Chief
which was,
Young,
I believe, built in the 1890s.
Yeah.
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 Chief Young, we used to spend $5,210 on salaries for the entire police department.
Yeah, but a nickel went a lot further back then there.
About $3,500 for the fire department. Mayor's office, we'll skip that. Okay, there's nothing to see here.
Looks like there's a few Masonic items as well again. I was having trouble with the other paper clips. Maybe you can have better luck.
So it looks, we would call these summonses for the brothers in the lodges. So George Washington Lodge number 24, Weber Lodge number 6, signed by their secretaries, and also in the case of George Washington Lodge, signed by their current worshipful master in 1924. The worshipful master of Weber Lodge, Stephen Hagens, signed that one. They're very similar, but dear brother, it is the order of the Grand Master for all members to be present to participate in the laying of the cornerstone of the new Union Depot at Ogden. Please make it your duty to attend. Ceremonies will be conducted by the Most Worshipful Grand Lodge of the State of Utah, F&AM, promptly at 4 p.m., Saturday, May 31st. All Masons are requested to report at the temple at 3 p.m. to form in procession. Let us make this occasion one to be remembered. In George Washington, they said very similar. The Worshipful Master has issued an order for all members to be present to participate in the laying of the cornerstone. Very similar language. Please make it your duty to attend. Ceremonies to be conducted. And again, let's make this occasion one to be remembered. There's also a letter, Unity Lodge number 18, signed by J.C. Brown, the Worshipful Master, and the very, very similar language, just on a larger piece of paper. Except it ends with, please make a special effort to be present.
Are these all local Ogden lodges?
These are all Ogden lodges.
How many lodges were active in Ogden?
So there were 3. They have now combined to 2.
Very nice. Something to get down for you. Still have a few things crammed on the side here. This tiny booklet, the Ogden Chapter Order of Des Moines. Is this ringing any bells for you, Charlie?
Himalay, isn't it?
Works for you?
This is the
Okay.
this is the Young Men's Organization.
Oh,
It's
okay.
affiliated with
Yeah.
Masonry. And it looks like we've got a list of their officers, their patrons. This would be a dance card. So,
Well, this young man wasn't very successful, was he?
no, there's nothing there.
I don't believe I remember seeing any dance cards on the.
We don't use dance cards anymore, do we? No.
Make sure you guys can get a nice, good look at that. that's everything except for our larger parcel. Let's see how we did. I bring it from both strings, maybe? Maybe if I can get an extra set of hands in here.
Makes you
This
wonder
is
how
about
they got it in
6
there,
inches
doesn't it?
deep, it seems.
Golden plate.
Well, you know what I think happened is they put it in and they sealed that lip, and that has made it a little wider.
We may have to go down the sides a little bit.
How would you feel about taking the paper off and seeing if we can,
I think we could take the paper off as well.
okay, let's try to work through the paper.
It seems like there's a large
Oh,
book
for way
bound in
better.
there.
Yeah.
Dude.
Thanks.
It may be several books.
There we go. Here we go. Here we go.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you, Travis Pate and Harbor Freight.
And we are very grateful they used such a nice thin copper for us today.
See if we can, yeah. It's that famous joke, how many people does it take to get books out of a container?
Is that 100-year-old blood or your blood, Shane?
Where?
Right here.
We need some better gloves up here.
There we go.
Hey.
That must be how they opened it the first time.
Little piece of solder from the,
Oh, we got some solder there.
yeah.
We'll have to store that.
Looks like silver solder, right?
You can see it a little bit on there. I think it was a silver solder that they used on it.
Yeah.
I'm going to put this carefully with the rest of the lid so we can save that for later. Let's see if we can't get this unwrapped now.
There you go.
It seems like maybe we have 2 bound volumes in here. It's like Christmas morning, except for I'm trying to save the wrapping paper. And another set of ties for us. I believe these are the contents from the 1888 capsule.
No, that says 1924.
This one is. Let's see if we
Yeah, I
can't
think
get
she's
it
got it.
untied.
Yeah.
There we go. I think the Masons were more prepared than the rest of the people submitting contents.
Okay, so you have a copy of this.
Oh, it's
You've been
the
working
same.
from this. So this is the proceedings from 1924 of the Grand Lodge of
Can you find our Ogden entry in here? Maybe not
Yes.
quite.
we should be able to find. So Weber Lodge number 6,
A regular meeting.
regular meeting. Let's find,
So is this meeting minutes from every lodge in Utah?
it's actually just their annual report.
Oh, interesting.
So yes, all of the lodges that existed in Utah at that point would have done this. And like I say, you've got a copy of this that you've been working from the last little
It
while.
does. The Lon helpfully provided us with a copy of the proceedings. I think ours is the 1925 edition.
It is.
So that it recorded the history of the laying of this cornerstone here, including all of the contents of the case and some lovely photographs as well.
So that's a copy of Henry Goodwin's book on Mormons and Masons.
Is this one a signed copy?
Yeah.
And signed by the author, May 31st, 1924. Apparently he was present.
He was the Grand Secretary at that point of Utah, so he would have been present.
Let's see if I can't get that more squared in the camera for you.
Looks like we have invitations, more of those invitations we've seen previously. Copies of the Utah Craftsman, which was a monthly journal that was published throughout the state for all the branches of Masonry.
So,
And we've got, it looks like February 1924, September 1923, May 1924, 2 copies of that for May.
and look at that on the cover. It's Captain Samuel Paul, who as Grand Master laid the cornerstone of the Union Depot, Ogden, November 5th, 1888.
And as you can
Is that-
see, he was not a young man then. So having him
He
here.
made it till 1924 then.
There's a picture of the same cornerstone, or same,
The
Or
box,
same
Sign
box,
capsule
yeah.
box, yes.
And is that the trowel we have on the table over
It
there?
is the trowel, yes. So this is the proceedings 1882. Proceedings in 1883. 1888. The Journal of the Grand Lodge of Utah, the Knights of Pythias. That's an organization that existed then but does not exist any longer here in Utah. The Intermountain American.
oh, merchant.
Yeah, the Intermountain Merchant. Is this ringing a bell for you, Trevor?
I've never heard of this one before, no. Official organ of the Ogden Chamber of Commerce, send for free samples, so,
I'll never turn down anything free.
no, never. It looks like the kind of, yeah, it's the kind of thing, if somebody wanted to know about Ogden and they wrote to the Chamber of Commerce, this is what they'd get in the mail, is one of these. Lovely picture of the map of Ogden on the front, and it looks like, I'm very reluctant to open it, but it looks like stories about the various businesses around town and praises for the water and all that other.
So you can see the front of that a little bit better with our
Yeah.
lovely mountains in the background. What are you looking at here?
Am I in the right spot here?
Yep.
So we've got a few city council members sitting in front row. The following are the names of the mayor, city council, and city officers of Ogden City on this 5th day of November, 1888, whose term of office commenced 1887, will expire February 1889. Mayor Eccles. So they had aldermen were the city officials and council members listed. Some familiar names of John Watson, L.B. Adams, John Reeve, Thomas Lee.
Thomas D.
Thomas
Yeah.
D.
You also have some standing committees here as well.
Correct, which still reflect some of the municipal structures and departments we have today. Sanitary, sewer, and public services. Public grounds was probably parks. Maybe cemetery as well, public buildings, streets, water department, fire department, claims, licenses, and legal.
So these are all meeting minutes then? These are the proceedings.
Of the Grand Lodge when they meet annually, yes.
So here we have 1882, 1883, and 1888. So these ones must have been from the original capsule.
Yeah.
Maybe till 1924. We got a report of the condition of the First National Bank of Ogden. Close of business, October 4th, 1888. Do you know anything about the First National Bank?
There were a lot of banks around here back then. They came and went. I don't know anything about that one specifically now.
Now, the directors of this organization was D.H. Peary, D. Eccles, and R.J. Taylor. Some familiar names there as
Yeah.
well.
Well, those are those guys that sat around the Weaver Club and they said, let's start a bank. And there it is.
There we are. Here we have some.
business cards.
Yeah, we got our unofficial contents here. We got some business cards from D.H. Peary Jr., land broker.
I think D.H. Peary was probably Mayor Harm Peary's dad or grandfather. I'm not sure which.
We have Dr. A.S. Condon, the author of our poet that we heard earlier this evening. Oh, Charlie, you'll like this one.
Frank
This was
Cannon, yeah.
Frank J. Cannon, two of them. Salt Lake City and Ogden.
Editor of the Standard. He was one of the early editors of the Ogden Standard, but became the Examiner, and was later a United States Senator and other things. Yeah.
Here's C.D. Hayes is bound to shine. If he can't make $1, he will take a dime.
I understand, yeah.
Take this tin cup to the tin shop and have a bottom put on free. Apparently a tin shop owner.
Now you notice that says 4th Street. Until just around this time, early 1880s, 4th Street was what we now call 24th. 5th was 25th. They changed the numbering system about 1896 when statehood came in and Mayor Kiesel decided to change the names of the streets.
I think this is, well, here's C.D. Hayes' card as well, his letterhead. General jobbing, a specialty.
Have to look that guy up, just a local businessman. Tinware, retail, and wholesale.
I wonder if he was the maker of our capsule, actually.
Might have been.
I can't quite make out what this says. It says Railroad something, October 1888, sent to
Honor W. Shelley,
425.
1924.
Original call for meeting to consider the depot question, circulated by Mr. Daniel, August 31st, 1883. This one was one I was interested in considering building the first proper station here, one that was not made out of clapboard. There's a lot of back and forth in the newspapers, but a lot of the historical writings put that date as later, rather than 1883. We've got a petition here. Public meeting tonight.
You notice all these are handwritten. Typewriters had barely been invented. So,
You can see some prominent names on here. We've got J.S. Lewis as well, D.H. Peary. We've seen some of these names throughout the evening.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's been held at, this meeting was held at the Union Opera House on Friday evening, August 31st at 7:30 p.m. I think it was on 24th Street.
Well, the Opera House was the where the movie theater was. It was on Washington Boulevard. The Orpheum. It was the Orpheum.
I don't think it would have been the Orpheum in 1888.
Yeah, I think
Not
that's.
sure. Maybe it was.
It had just been built.
Oh, here's the envelope as well. List of officers and members of Ogden Lodge, Knights of Pythias. You want to take a look at this?
Huh.
Looks like your list is typewritten.
The only problem with reading this is that this organization doesn't exist in Utah anymore, but the Masons in the audience are probably going to want to reconstitute one. That's a very inside joke for the Masons. But yes, it shows names and officers, members of the Ogden Lodge, number 2, Knights of Pythias, instituted May 23rd, 1881 in Ogden City. I would suspect that there are some names in here that match some of the other names of maybe the Weber Club.
You haven't seen a newspaper in a while, so. This one,
That's the park record.
it is the park record. It also was courtesy of the Masonic Library at some point. Not sure if this one's going to come unfolded for us very easily. There we are, maybe one turn. This one's a very old newspaper, October 27th, 1888. You can see the amount of change in the advertisements from 1888 to 1924.
Is there a date on it?
It's on the other side of here.
October
October
27th,
27th.
1888. Just going to say, there's your ordinances, Maver.
It's about the same amount we have today.
Pretty much.
You wish.
Yeah. For a license authorizing the sale of alcohol? So, these are actually really easy to read. There's the fee schedule. Be it ordained by the City Council of Ogden City, 4 of whom are sitting front row.
Do we have a date on this one? Let's see. Maybe we don't. It was printed by the Authority of Ogden City. Here is one of the books that was bound in there. The Ogden City Ordinances of 1881. Let's see what overlaps here as well. Elected 1869, elected 1871. Here's the investment of the city council.
I'm guessing they didn't change the ordinances very frequently, or
No.
they'd have to reprint and bound the whole book.
What year did you say that was, 1871?
This is 1881.
Oh, 81, yeah. This is interesting, in 1870, right after the railroad came through, the population of Ogden had doubled from about 1,700 to a couple thousand, 2,000 or 3,000. But by 1880, it was up to 10, 15,000. You think the town's booming now. Back then, it was just going nuts.
And here we have the inspector of liquors. For inspecting and testing one cask or vessel of liquor, $1.
That's a job I'd like, Mayor. If you want to reinstitute that, I'll take that job.
To inspect, test, taste the liquor, or as called upon by the mayor or alderman.
If you're looking for someone for that position, just let me know.
You know if you guys still have a copy of this over in the city hall?
We actually might. We have a pretty robust storage and preservation system in the building.
It's interesting, you look at the paper this was printed on, this is high-quality paper, this is like new, whereas those newspapers, don't breathe on them too hard, okay?
Is there any ordinances in there that are there, or in our modern ordinances that are there previously? That one? They do a full rewrite at some point.
I don't know, that's a good question.
Yeah.
I'd have to read through this and tell you.
I was seeing some similarities that probably have gotten updated over the years, but some basics in there. I'm not quite sure what we're looking at with this document either.
Oh, that's the GAR, Grand Army of the Republic. The GAR was kind of like the VFW of its day. It was organization for veterans of the Civil War. And it was, they would do the same thing then that the VFW and other things do now. Basically get together, they would march in parades and, you know, do things together. And you can find Altarest Cemetery has a whole section of Civil War cemeteries or Civil War burials. And yeah, we're just a way for Civil War veterans to get together. But that's what this is, Grand Army of the Republic as of 1888. And obviously they went in for a showy.
Unlike this next group that got the thinnest paper that they could find. This is the Knights Templar.
What's interesting of this is these guys are from all over the country. Indiana Infantry, Illinois Infantry, Massachusetts Infantry. A lot of these people came to Ogden because of the railroad.
So this is a list of the membership of El Monte Commandery, number 2, Knights Templar, here in Ogden, Utah. And that is dated November 5th, 1888. As our usual list of officers and members. They did find thin paper.
They did tell them to find better ones next time. Ogden City, statement regarding indebtedness.
Are you guys making fun of me again?
We've got the Ogden City corporate seal here on the corner. You can see a beehive I can make out. That's a great question. Total bonded indebtedness, 100,000. Total floating indebtedness has been crossed out. I'm not sure quite what that means. The entire debt is 100,000. And then we have some assessed valued property and true value of property as well.
So the assessed value was 2 almost $3 million for the entire city. That's about 2 lots now.
And we also have a note about our annual revenue as well.
$55,000, yeah.
And signed by the city recorder. Attested November 5th, 1888.
There you go, Mayor. But remember, back then you didn't even have to deal with paved streets because they weren't.
This is the freight department of the Southern Pacific Company, Ogden, Utah, November 5th, 1888. We've got cashiers, car accountants, train clerks. This will be very helpful for our Ogdenites looking for their ancestors,
Yeah. And that's all hand-drawn around the edge.
including this beautiful locomotive in the corner and this ship as well. I'm not sure how Salt Lake City ended up in here, but they did.
Ah, well, you know.
So this is one put out by the Chamber of Commerce of Salt Lake City with some
See, uniform grade.
the ideal 4-season climate, the utilities of gas, electric, light and power, and telephone, and water.
20 feet wide on Main Street.
The ordinance back then said that sidewalks had to be 16 feet wide, 20 feet wide, and
On Main Street, which is now Washington.
we had ordinances to govern gambling, liquor distribution and management.
Yeah.
Our firefighters had the same arrest authority as police during fires. The number of bells to chime for the direction of when the fire took place, so that all the engines could report to the same direction.
We know that firefighting was an important community activity in this era.
Yeah.
And back then, the mayor could pardon anybody of any crime at their choosing.
You know, one of my favorite anecdotes actually from the night that our Union Station burned down is that 2 hobos hopped off the train and started pitching in at the end of the night. They were like, okay, let's just curl up and go to sleep. And the mayor offered them a hotel room and comfortable amenities while they were in Ogden. Salt Lake City, the center of scenic America. That's a beautiful artwork on the front.
Moving on.
It is. Well, Salt Lake City, 30 miles south from the center of scenic America.
I think that's artistic license. I don't recognize those mountains around Salt Lake.
It's the original Matterhorn.
Yeah, that's supposed to be Big Cottonwood Canyon. Get real. Come on.
You can see that lovely vintage car in the corner. You can tell it's a 1924
Yeah.
drawing. You can catch some fish. Bryce Canyon,
That's the same tunnel that's still there.
same tunnel that's still there.
Yep.
Mount Timpanogos. Got some lovely drawings. And there's the Hotel Utah. Well, Salt Lake City's pretty okay.
Yeah.
Hey,
Here's some more Masonic stuff.
The copper mine. Yeah.
These are additional copies of the invitation
Yeah.
at the 1888, signed by Christopher Deal.
Interesting. So this is what they were copying from when they reprinted it
When
in
they reprinted
1924.
it. Yes.
You see that lovely, these ones are unsigned. They kept some extra back. We've also got the Union Pacific Magazine, June 1924. Got some time traveling going on. Page 16, it says. Maybe we'll see what's on page 16. Get there.
Oh, there's heritage.
Not sure if it's going to open for me. We can see some lovely children's pictures in here.
I always got to get pretty girls skiing.
There we are. Ogden Depot Cornerstone box opened. And a picture of the event itself with James Collins present and do you recognize any of those other names?
Yes. So, J.S. Lewis, Samuel Paul, Parley L. Williams. These were Grand Master, Deputy Grand Master, Senior Steward, I believe, Senior Deacon of the Grand Lodge, and then James Collin and Sam Goodwin, the Grand Master and the Deputy Grand Master in 24.
Very nice. And now we know why it told us
Excuse
to
me,
turn to
Secretary.
page 16.
Yeah.
Not sure why they included this scrap of paper.
I was thinking perhaps filler.
Maybe just filler or padding.
Yeah. We have what would have been at that point the most current code of the Grand Lodge of Utah, 1915. And it includes the Constitution, the bylaws, and then the rules for lodges. And I think this was before we would have had a uniform code of bylaws for lodges. It appears that was the case. And the trial code of the Grand Lodge at the same time. For the Masons in the audience, see how thick the code was in those days? It's about 4 times that size today.
Oh, well. I was just admiring the beautiful blue on this cover from 1915. Is that our last item in here?
It's our last item.
This is our last item.
All right, y'all, we have placed all of the artifacts along these 3 tables up here. We would love for you to come up and take a look at them with a couple of stipulations. Number 1, please leave any food or drink that you might have where your seat is. Don't bring any food or drink near it. You're more than welcome to take photos of the artifacts. Please just turn off your flash. No flash photography for these artifacts. And please don't handle them. If you'd like to have a page turned or look at the other side of something, have Hope or one of her assistants help you out with that in the white gloves so we can preserve these artifacts. Please take photos if you like, follow, and tag Museums Union Station on Instagram or Ogden Union Station on Facebook with anything you guys post. And keep in mind, on November 22nd, 23rd, we will be back here to basically reset another time capsule. So give some thought. We would love your input on kind of what you'd like to see go in a time capsule we open 100 years from now. If you'd like to stay plugged into the future of Union Station, make sure you jump into the Make Ogden planning sessions that are constantly going on. And please just enjoy your time. We'll bring some of these experts down to kind of mill around and answer your questions. I'm sure they're dying to look more closely at some of this stuff. I know they had to kind of fly through it to get through it all. And I know I can see them just like there's a couple things they want to get at. I can tell. So thank you guys for coming. We're going to have you line up along the west wall over here by the annex. And then you can work your way across and then exit back out the back door over there where you came in. So we can kind of keep it orderly. But yeah, thank you guys for joining us for this centennial celebration of the opening of this time capsule. And we'll see you at future events here at Union Station.
Great fun.
It was.
Nice seeing you.
And you.